Hi guys, welcome to Scott Family Homestead. I'm Christine and I'm so happy you're here. Today we're going to talk about all of the May varieties that we're planting. So this is early May, zone 4. We are in northern Wisconsin and our last frost date is in about 3 weeks. So I have a whole bunch of things we're going to plant today. But before we get to that, I just want to say a huge thank you. I know that this is a really busy time of year if you are homesteading or gardening, and I appreciate so much that you're taking time out of your day to watch our video. I would love if you would subscribe and also hit that bell so you get notifications when we post new videos. And if you have somebody that especially lives in zone 4, but anybody you know who likes to homestead or garden, if you could share this video with them or share our channel, that would make such a big difference in our lives. Viewership is really low this time of year because people are busy, but we really appreciate all of you that take the time to watch our channel and are here spending some of your day with us. If you saw our last video, you saw that we are doing onion starts. So I have just a few left that need to get into the ground. So we're going to finish up those. And then you'll see I've got these garden beds behind me that have the cattle panel trellises that go up and over. And so on these beds, we are going to plant some of our peas. So these are kind of my favorite, the Green Beauty. And this one says overpacked due to low germination. So I'm going to put about double these, probably about every inch, maybe closer. I'm going to put these. And then we have a couple of other varieties. The boys really wanted to try the yellow ones, and then this is just another type of sugar pea, the nice sweet ones. So we love these, the kids love these. I'm going to plant in each of these beds a different variety. And then my son planted some of these super sugar snaps in his garden bed. So his is over here. And then I've got the other 3. Out here, I also have some plant starts, so I'm going to put my thyme and some parsley and some rosemary out. They are pretty cold hardy. If we're going to have like a really cold night, I'll cover some stuff. But I'm going to go ahead, I've been hardening those off, and so we'll get some of those planted. Then we get into some of our cool weather stuff. So I've got beets, and we've got some rutabagas. I've got Swiss chard. Radishes. These have some really spicy ones in there, so my kids don't love all of the varieties in here. I already planted some French breakfast radishes, but this mix we're going to do as well. I have some kale and some other brassicas. So we've got some bok choy. Here's another Swiss chard. And with these, I'm going to do some of them in my garden beds out here. But most of them I'm going to plant into my Greenstalk. So they are the garden towers that I've got here. I have 4 Greenstalks. 3 of them are the leaf planters, so they have the smaller pockets. And then I have one that is the original with the bigger pockets. That one's only a 4 tier, I believe, maybe a 5. These are all my 7 tier leaves. I have one of these that is planted almost entirely with strawberries. And then I've got 2 that I do a lot of greens in. So we're going to amend those a little bit, get some new potting soil where it has settled, clean out the watering system part of it, and we're going to go ahead and plant those with greens. Hi, baby girl. Are you going to help Mama plant garden?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Wow, my plants look nice. My plants look nice.
Your plants look nice?
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have the pretty stuff, the flowers. I got a couple types of hollyhocks. These flower every other year. And so I'm going to plant these this year. We won't see flowers on them till at least next year. I have a lot of hollyhocks around here, but they're all yellow. And so I wanted some more color. So we're going to do these. Fun little fact about hollyhocks, they are sometimes called the outhouse flower because they grow such big tall stalks of pretty flowers that people used to hide their outhouse behind it. And then if you were a lady, you didn't have to ask where the outhouse was. You could just look for the hollyhocks. So I think that is such a cool story. We do have a little outhouse down here and I kind of want to plant some hollyhocks around it, but the chicken coop is right next to it and they've got it down to bare dirt. So I'd have to fence it or something. But maybe I'll build a little flower box and fence it in and let these hollyhocks take root. That would be really cool. I also have, I'm a little bit late on some of my flowers. The poppies and the bachelor buttons, they can get planted really early in the spring. I just didn't get around to it. So this is kind of a last ditch effort. We're just gonna sprinkle some of these out there and see what we get. I do have frosted salmon poppies in my other garden, so I probably will get some volunteers like I did last year from that. But we're gonna go ahead and try to plant some of these. I've got my cosmos. We're gonna do a big area of cosmos. Love those, they grow so pretty. Then I have just a couple others that said you could sow in place, so we're going to try to do a couple rows of these. I really like the aster. They grow a small, they're not so much for like cut flowers because a lot of times the stems are really short. Amphrena, I have not had luck growing this one yet, so we're going to try it again. So I have a whole flower garden area set up. I'll show you that in a little bit. And then I'm going to throw a couple more marigolds in here. Marigolds are really good for pest deterrents. I'm going to get some more of these planted. I only had a few germinate inside, so we're going to try to plant them outside and see how they do. Very good for near your tomatoes and cucumbers. This is a large variety of it, so you get a really large flower head. They are beautiful, so we're going to try those. And then I got this pack. I don't even remember where this came from, but it's a big pack of hummingbird garden butterfly mixture. We're just going to do a whole area of this, let it grow wild and not worry about weeding it or anything, and hopefully get some beautiful blooms from that. So that is all of my seeds that I'm hoping to get planted this weekend. That's a big, ambitious amount of plants, but we're going to go ahead and give it a try. A lot of these I would normally start indoors. The bok choy, the Swiss chard, a lot of these I normally start indoors, but I had very limited space this year. I'm growing way too many tomatoes and peppers, and so they're gonna have to get started outdoors. So yeah, let's get planting. Let's go ahead. I think I'll start with my peas. I've got in this garden bed, you can see all the garlic coming up, but I don't have anything against the fence here. Now these I use for beans. I plant a bunch of pole beans, and that's the primary way that we grow our beans. However, it's early enough in the year that I can get 2 crops out of this. So I can plant my peas, and by the time they're kind of finishing out, then my beans will be coming up. I will interplant them. I won't plant those for another 3 to 4 weeks, and then those will start climbing up the trellis, and then we'll pull all those peas out because they will be done. Try to double up on this planting space and see how that goes this year. I haven't done that before. I've always had designated spaces for each, but we're going to try this. Once I get all of my Vego garden beds in, so I'm adding 4 of these big long ones along that fence. Once those are all in, then in the fall I can do another big crop of peas, and they'll do really good in that cold weather. They get really nice and sweet once it cools down. So let's get them planted, and hopefully they'll come up in no time. I really enjoy growing in raised beds. It's easy to control the fertility of your soil. You can do more square foot gardening. It's a little bit easier for me to manage kind of what goes where. Everything has its place. My kids enjoy it too. They're able to kind of pick one raised bed for themselves. They've got a designated space to plant in. They can plant all of their favorite things. So we really do like this. I have the high tunnel obviously for production and for things that we do a lot of canning or that we're going to sell. But this little garden out here where I've got my small garden beds, my green stalks, and the Vego garden beds are going out here. This is kind of my pretty snacking garden where we can come out here and enjoy stuff fresh. And so we try to plant things like the radishes, the peas, the beans, a lot of the herbs, things. This is kind of the kitchen garden where we can come out and grab stuff. And last year it was just the 4 little beds and a couple green stalks. So I'm excited that this is going to be a really productive little garden out here this year. All right, let's talk about green stalks for a minute here. I love these. They're super sturdy, super durable, very different than the Walmart or dollar store stackable towers that you can get. This does have its own watering system in it, and I will show you that in just a second. My biggest criticism of this is that it is harder to germinate seeds in here using this water system. So if you're gonna plant seeds in here, my suggestion is just to hose this whole thing down, water every pocket individually while you have seeds in here. Once it gets going and you've got plants in here, the water system works great. So you have this bin on top. As you can see, mine has gotten dirty because it's been sitting out here all year. So you want to clean that out. Bottom of it too. There are little holes in here. So these, you need to be able to see through them. They do make covers for these now you can buy. I do not have them. We just take this off occasionally and wash it out. Each of these little holes goes into one of these pockets. Now this center part is where the majority of your water is going to go. Underneath each of these is a disc. So the water is going to run from your watering system up top. You fill it up. It's going to fill each of these discs. Now these also have little holes, if you can see that right there, that need to be clear. What we do is every spring we take the whole thing apart. We take each of these layers off, top them off with potting soil if they need a little bit more in there, or replace it entirely. We can dump out all of this soil and start over. And we clean out every one of these. Once you have it all taken apart, it's really easy to plant in each one and then just go ahead and stack it back up. Each layer has 6 pockets in it, and it is 7 layers tall if you get the 7 tier. So you can plant 42 plants in each of these. These do awesome with greens. So I grow all of my lettuces, a lot of my kales are grown in these. You can do herbs in here. The other things that I really like is the dwarf tomato plants. So I do orange hats and microtoms. And then I also last year did some dwarf pea plants, and they do not put on a lot of production, but they're really, really cute. I did a whole layer of dwarf peas in here, and they were just nice little snacking things. My kids call these the salad bars. It's just stuff that they can grab and go. In these pockets, I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. We've done radishes, you can even do carrots in here. Obviously they're not gonna get as deep. You might wanna use a Greenstalk original. So the original has bigger pockets on it. In the originals, you can even do peppers and tomatoes, bigger plants, which is really awesome. And they do have support systems for this you can add on as well. I'm not an official affiliate, but I do have a friends referral code, and I'll put that in the description. I have a lot of family and friends who have added these to their gardens and love them. We are big fans. My goal is to get this green one done today. I'm debating on my other one. I have another 25 strawberry plants, and I'm kind of leaning towards planting that with strawberries. I want to make sure that these actually come back this year, and that in our zone 4, the strawberries survived in the Greenstalk. If so, then I'll probably plant the other Greenstalk with strawberries. So far I haven't seen greens come up yet, so I'm gonna kind of wait a little bit before I plant that other one. Okay, I topped these off with potting soil. Now, because we are not refilling these, I'm going to assume that they're pretty well depleted. We just put a thin layer of potting soil on the top, so I'm going to have to fertilize these. Thankfully, you can do that with the watering system. You can mix up a bucket of your liquid fertilizer, and I do it separately. Don't mix it in the watering system lid, but mix it up in a bucket so it's evenly distributed throughout the water beforehand. Dump the whole bucket in there into that top, and it will distribute the fertilizer into each of these pockets. New potting soil or some compost, if you can top it off with compost. Worm castings is good for this. Fish emulsion fertilizer would work well in this. So however you want to get those nutrients into your soil, it's totally up to you. But you do need to do something each year, or you're not going to get a whole lot of productivity out of here. Anytime you're doing container gardening or raised bed gardening, you have to assume that after you have grown a crop of veggies or flowers or whatever out of it, that they have probably soaked up just about every nutrient left in there, and you're going to have to do something to supplement it. We're going to plant right to the very edge of them. They grow so cool when it's all filled out. If you are gardening on a patio or a small space, or you just want some veggies right outside your door, these are an awesome solution for that. These are from Seed Savers. It's just a lettuce mix, so I planted them pretty heavily in here. I have some of these for sale on the farm stand too if you're local. But we're gonna pop these out. Those roots, they look great. But this is actually super simple to pull apart, and there's multiple plants in here. If there's a couple of them together, that's fine. We'll go ahead and plant those together. These are going to fill out really fast with those starts. This is the way I really like to do the green stalks. But we're going to do a lot of seeds in here this year too. So each one of these has probably 8 to 10 plants in it. We're just going to put a couple into each pocket. I'm going to water these really heavily before I stack them up. They're going to be heavier when I stack them, but just to get a really deep watering on these. These have been sitting outside, so they're not super dry. If you store these in your garage or indoors, which is kind of what they recommend, then you're going to want to water them very deeply. They're going to be very, very bone dry when you pull them out in the spring. Just give them a nice deep water, not just the water system. So we're going to get these planted, we're going to get them watered, we're going to stack back up. In maybe 15 minutes or so, we got this whole thing planted and restacked. That's 42 pockets of plants ready to go, and pretty quick, easy job. All right, it is so sunny and nice out. This is where we planted our onions and our blueberries. I still need to plant a few onions over here. I've got them in my tray. That's gonna get done today. We're gonna have about 1,000 onions out here, looks like. So they're all doing really well, the ones we've already planted. They're all standing upright. We've had a couple rainstorms and they are doing great. As we move this way, we have our tarps down where our vegetable garden outside is going to be. And then we have this whole area over here. Our camper is not going to be there full time, but we've got this whole area here next to the onions behind the high tunnel. We did pumpkins over here last year, but this year we're going to do rows of flowers. So just for a little bit of joy. Stuff over here, the pumpkins did great, but the other vegetable garden type things we planted over here didn't do very good last year. We didn't have enough compost out here, and I don't have enough this year to really spend a ton of time or add a ton of compost to this. So we're gonna just do flowers. We're gonna do something beautiful. Hopefully something comes up. I am going to leave a space for my Haas weeding tool to go through each row so that we can try to keep the grass down a little bit. All right, Ryan heard me talking about this, so he brought it out. This is my 2-wheeled hoe from Haas Tools, and right now it's got the cultivator prongs on it. So it's got 3 there, and it just tills it up really nicely. You can kind of come through and till just the very top of your soil. What I use the most is this right here, and this weeds the ground really, really well. And so I want all of my flower rows at least this far apart so that I can come through with this. Out here, when you've got a garden this big, it's impossible to weed all of it. So you're really looking at either ground cover, super heavy mulch, or a weeding tool of some sort, because doing all of this by hand is nearly impossible. I'm going to keep all my rows about a foot apart. If you go wider than this, you can just go down and then come on back up. This thing is super handy. There's no motors or engines. Very easy to replace parts. It comes with all kinds of different attachments. I think we got 3 different tools that came with it when we ordered it, and it's a bit of an investment, but it's a long-standing heirloom piece. We can hand this down to our kids and it's going to work great for them too. So I think it's worth it, and when you're talking about gardening this big, it's necessary. We used this in the high tunnel last year between our rows of tomatoes. It was a lifesaver. I don't know what I would have done without it. I really just can't keep up with that amount of weeds and grass. And I prefer not to use a ton of the plastic landscape covers. We are going to use some in the high tunnel down each side. We've decided, since it's already super grassy in there, we're actually going to put ground cover down and burn some holes in them and do some squash in there. We have in the past done a weed-free garden, we called it. We did all ground cover and planted just in the little holes. It's a lifesaver when you are short on time, but you still want to garden with some productivity. It's great for putting a watering system in, like a drip irrigation, and having it right where each of your plants are. You can fertilize it that way, and it saves you a ton of time. I think I have a blog post on that, so I'll see if I can throw that in the description as well, because that is a lifesaver when you are planting in huge areas and you don't have the time to sit and weed it. The raised bed gardens are much easier for that, but planting a big in-ground garden like this, it gets kind of crazy. Down here, past where we have our ground cover right now, this is just knocking back all the grass. Down here, all the way across, and then we're going to come up the side here. This is all going to be pumpkins. We're going to get a whole bunch of squash out here, and then you kind of get into our orchard area. Out here past the high tunnel and the onions, we got all this really nice grass. Kind of comes up to the cattle fence. And then we have our apple trees back here. And this is kind of our whole orchard area. And we run all of our meat birds through here. So all along the high tunnel and all back here, we run our meat birds. This year we're doing 100 meat birds at a time. So we're gonna be running 4 tractors. That's a project coming up soon, is building some more tractors. I currently have 2. But they will run through all this grass, fertilize it really well, and then maybe someday we will till this up and make it into a garden to kind of expand into this space. But for now, they're kind of improving the soil quality. You can see the grass in here is growing back amazing. It's lovely. I think the cows would love to get in here. Their pasture's looking a little sparse. We're working on building them a new pasture very soon. They're still getting bales of hay because they've got it kind of mowed down pretty low. Did take the steer to the butcher this week, so we've got 1 less cow out here. They're gonna need supplementing until we can get them some new pasture. That's kind of the plans out here. I won't bore you with planting all of the flowers. It's gonna take me a little bit longer to do that than the Greenstalk and the raised bed garden. So I will let you go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for subscribing and being here and supporting our family. We love and appreciate you all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.